remember that time that Luka was being set up to be a really important character for the future of Miraculous Ladybug, and was poised to be a core element of the story going forward? And then his story was absolutely eviscerated and mismanaged to the point that he became one of the most minor heroes in the show? Yeah, I too remember this. It's gotta be up there with Chloe's redemption flip-flop as one of the show's biggest missed opportunities. One of the show's biggest fails. And yeah, it gets me very heated. How could this have all come to nothing? And why does it keep happening to this specific character? Asterisk, mate, what's going on? Why must you relentlessly massacre my boy? And I mean, this is not a recent thing. To be a Luka fan is to suffer. And it's been that way since the very beginning. Remember, we were introduced to Luka back in season 2? So a very long time ago. And he was introduced to add a little bit of a new dynamic for Marinette. She'd spent so long pining after Adrian and getting absolutely nowhere, whilst Adrian did the same for her alter ego Ladybug. And so the injection of Luka and Kagami into these storylines was meant to shake things up. We'd have episodes where these new alternate ships would bond and hang out and do whatever, ice skating, film premieres, that kind of stuff. And all the while, we'd have Marinette, of course, getting actively jealous, whilst Adrian was a bit more confused by his feelings at that early stage of the game. Ugh. Just a very good friend. The flashbacks. No. And so, the idea behind these storylines was we'd slowly work up to these alternate ship setting sail as they do at the end of season 3. And then we'd be getting a season 4 that was going to be filled with emotional angst and drama. After all, they really dragged out their introduction and the build up to these alternate ships. So in order for that to feel like it had a proper narrative payoff, you'd want these alternate ships to get some proper airtime during season 4. For the storyline to continue for at least, maybe half the season before you go back to Adrian Ed as your main thing. Give the storyline time to build, to peak, and then to taper off. But they don't do that, because they're finished by the end of the first 2 episodes of season 4. Well and truly sunk. Which, for a show that loves progressing the story at a snail pace almost 100% of the time, this is where they decide to turbo boost it? This? And it wouldn't have been so bad if there was some story to replace it. Like in season 4, if they want to break them up immediately and then move into the beginnings of Adrian and Marinette, whilst it would have wasted a perfectly good storyline and character development, I think in the end it would have been fine. Not perfect, but fine. You'd be using that storyline and all that build up through 2 seasons as a springboard into something new, into the main ship. And so it wouldn't be completely wasted. And whilst it would have been better to do that after a more significant period of time, it would have been okay. But of course, as you likely remember, this is not what they decided to do. Inexplicably, they simply returned to the pathetic status quo, where both of them start pining after Adrian and Ladybug respectively, and Luka is relegated to the role of King Simp, who actively tries to wingman his recently ex-girlfriend with one of his close friends. Which, yeah, you do you, man, but Jesus. And then, for much of that season, he really does next to nothing at all. He has minimal relevancy in the overall narrative, and is just there as a therapist. I mean, they sort of deal with the aftermath of the relationship in basic terms, but I don't know, it very much feels like last-minute writers' regret that they even had this storyline end season 3, and so they wanted to nip it in the bud as soon as they could come season 4, which it feels wasteful as all hell. Why even bother doing the storyline at all in that case? And so, this left both our characters in a bit of a limbo. But whilst Kagami was able to be salvaged rather easily, all things considered, as her mum's an important minor antagonist working with Gabe and she's tied into the whole Sentimonster deal, Luka didn't have that benefit. He didn't have that hook. And so it really did look like he was going to flounder coming into season 5, which would have been a massive shame. But what do you know? Towards the end of season 4, we get the episode Wishmaker, which among other things gives Luka, through the power of time travel, the knowledge of the secret identities of both Ladybug and Cat Noir. He sees them both in different alternate timelines when he uses his second chance power-up. And since he retains the information when he resets things, he learns they're Adrian and Marinette. And in the context of the show at that point in time, this was a huge development. It's a huge bit of story for Luka. Something that can well and truly anchor his storyline going forward into season 5 and allow him to take a more prominent role in the main story. Not just in his side story, where he deals with his newly returned deadbeat dad, but in the main overarching hero narrative. There's just so much you can do with this, right? And I mean, surely he's going to be part of the reveal then. And in fact, I think it makes a whole lot of sense if he's further part of Adrian and Marinette finally setting sail on the SS Romance. After all, his whole vibe is as a complete giga-simp, but also as a self-help guru for all his friends, family, and even his dad's girlfriend. And so, since he now has this knowledge, I think he'd be able to easily fill a role that had been lost since like the end of season 3. The wise teacher. Fu was this for Marinette. He wasn't in every episode, but he was in enough episodes to make an impact. And much like Luka, he seems to excel at teaching life lessons. And I think this could have been a great spot for Luka to be in for season 5. Hell, you even introduced the Guardian. Why not have that guy take Luka as a bit of an apprentice once he learns that he has that knowledge too? I think this could have been really interesting. But then season 5 comes along, and he has a few scattered handful of appearances before the big storyline that gets him shuffled off stage and out of the show. That's right, they killed his story dead. Once again, they just bungle his character over and over. What is this? Like seriously, you have a character who is the only human character who knows the identity of both Ladybug and Cat Noir, your main heroes. The only person that knows both of these key secret identities, the reveal of which has been an anticipated plot point across all 5 seasons. Automatically, in terms of narrative value, Luka has jumped from B-list protagonist to solid gold. The dude had so much story potential, it hurts. So many ways that his character could have been used. We see Gabe go after him that one time, but beyond that, the information he holds has no value and no versatility story-wise because it doesn't get capitalized on by the writing until he's written out. He spends most of the episodes MIA or as a background character instead of having interesting storylines. E.g., he could have used his knowledge to help Marinette and Adrien out. After all, if you're gonna simp, may as well do it right, like I said. Get shit done. But no, let's just suffer through numerous episodes of all of their other friends trying to help out and failing hard. On top of that, I don't know, maybe have him as the metaphorical man in the chair, helping to manipulate events to help the heroes win or to coordinate with one another. Or, I think my favourite option would have been him revealing himself to Cat Noir, because then it opens up so many doors for a brand new dynamic. Adrien and Luka. We'd already started to explore their friendship a bit during season 4, and even again during season 5. Luka becomes his confidant, but they could have taken this further in the same way that Alia knowing Marinette was Ladybug opened up a whole lot more storytelling potential as well. And since this season has been so heavily focused on Adrien's home life, having a friend to help him escape from all of that would have been really interesting and fresh. And then maybe when Luka leaves, because I think you could have him leave if you'd featured him more heavily in the start of the season, then Adrien's life can begin to spiral once again. It can all start to collapse. He's being forced to go to London, all of that sort of stuff. Because in that way, Luka leaving the show for the time being actually means something to the story. It means something to the characters and to their arcs and the way they interact, instead of the absolute travesty of justice that we got instead. A disgrace where Luka and his arc and his storyline, they're all tossed to the wayside for no reason at all. Like seriously, looking at the episodes we've gotten so far, which is most of them, there is genuinely zero reason why he couldn't have been included in a more prominent way. Hell, I mean, they managed to keep Kagami relevant all through this season, so why not Luka? For shame. And what makes it all worse is that they gave me hope that they were going to do something cool with this character. And like I said, that just makes it so much worse. Because it lets you imagine all of those different interesting story threads, those different ways his character could be utilized. But then nothing, just nothing. His character's completely shuffled off to the side and treated like he doesn't matter to the story at all. His character's had about the same impact on this season as Alex. And she left after what, episode 2? Oh, what is this? It's just sad, like really sad. Luka, when he was introduced to the show, he had so much potential. And they keep promising more and more and failing at every turn. The writing's failed his character. It's so ridiculous. It's a damn shame. Oh, I'm just in mourning. I need to stop before I get too depressed, so we'll call the video here. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about the writing for Luka? Do you think I'm overblowing things, or do you think he's actually just been butchered? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.